On behalf of Mass Hockey, I'd like to welcome everybody to this year's Hall of Fame and Awards Dinner. My name is Joe Bertagna. It's my job to steer us through a fairly complete program tonight, and to do so with an eye on the clock. It's been a long day already for some of the people who have had meetings most of the day here in Plymouth, so we want to stay on track. As I said a month or two ago in Naples, Florida, when I had a similar role, no one's ever left a banquet and said, geez, I wish those speakers stayed up there a lot longer. So we'll keep that in mind for both presenters and our recipients. We're going to divide the proceedings tonight into three parts. We're going to start with the special Mass Hockey Service Awards first, followed by dinner, and then we'll come back up afterwards to conclude the evening with our Hall of Fame presentations. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge someone who's not here tonight. As many of you know, Gloria Herman, a 2011 Hall of Fame inductee, passed away earlier this month. For many of us, dealing with Gloria was a real treat. An unbelievable personality, filled a room, and so it's really different to come to one of these events and not run into her and have a conversation. You know, the script calls for a moment of silence, but I've found in recent situations like this, I'd rather celebrate, and so instead of a moment of silence, I would like everybody to stand. We'll give a round of applause to commemorate and remember the memory of Gloria Herman. Thank you. If you're so inclined, there is a scholarship fund that's been set up. I don't expect people to write this down, but you can go on the Mass Hockey site, the Gloria Herman Memorial Scholarship Fund, care of Stonehill College, Office of Advancement, 320 Washington Street in Easton, Mass. 02357. So if you just send to the Gloria Herman Scholarship Fund, care of Stonehill, I'm sure it'll get to the right place. So in keeping with my goal of staying on the timetable, I'm going to call up the titled leaders of Mass Hockey, John Tobin and Kevin Cavanaugh. I call them the titled leaders because we all know that Liz Cohen actually does all the work. So we're going to bring John and Kevin up here to start the program.
Thanks, Joe, for those kind words. I would also like to acknowledge Gloria Herman. She was a rock, and she was a major part of this organization. And Joe is right. Liz does all the work in this organization. But we should also mention Mike and Kevin. They help out. Welcome to the 45th Annual Mass Hockey Annual Meeting. We're happy to give out our awards tonight and the Hockey Hall of Fame inductees, and congratulate both the awardees and the inductees. And hopefully this will be a great night with some great stories told. Having said that, I think we want to go right into the program. We do have a very strict script here that we have to follow, so I'm going to invite Kevin Donovan, our referee-in-chief, USA Hockey referee-in-chief, and John Murray, our Massachusetts referee coordinator, to give out the first award.
Thank you, John, and just want to start off by wishing all the inductees and the recipients tonight congratulations for all the hard work that you've done. So I am here to present the Milt Kaufman Award, which is named after one of my predecessors, Milt Kaufman, referee-in-chief. The award is to be dedicated to a referee that does outstanding work to the game and makes a significant change for mass hockey and officiating. So there's lots of little criteria that we look at, and it's not just always about the game, but improving the quality of the officials that we have, making the process a lot easier. In the past year, Massachusetts ran a pilot program to bring new officials on. There was a lot of work behind those scenes to make that happen because USA's system was not running. I would pick up the phone and I'd have this great idea and say, we need to get this done. And it would get done. There's a lot of little things that go beyond to make the officiating program a great program, and it's the training that we do. Tonight's recipient has made the past year for mass hockey growing in numbers. We were up 119 new officials in the past year, and his behind the scenes of training officials, running our seminars, and me picking up the phone and saying, hey, Brian, we need to do something. And I would always say we did it, but a lot of that was Brian behind the scenes, managing our website, taking on the leadership of running the seminars, and last year with our pilot program, putting a whole new process together and training criteria. So it is a great privilege for this year to present the Milt Kaufman Award to Brian Harrington.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. Very much appreciate it. I'm supposed to thank Kerry Ann Allen and Bill Paulson. They told me to say that. So thank you, Kerry and Bill. Very much appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin and John, and all of Mass Hockey. Liz, we're the ones that really do all the work. So appreciate you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Now I'd like to call up our longtime USA Hockey Registrar, Ron D. Filippo, and our Associate Registrar from District 7, DJ Briggs.
So this is for commitment and dedication to the position of registrar. This year, I nominated Ryan because of, let's keep it quick, a very simple story. A few years ago, I got texts and phone calls about a coach that wanted to put a player onto a team for a tournament. And it was a standard tournament in the middle of the winter, and the coach said he was going to be short a player. He had 12. It was going to go down to 11. He wanted to add another one. Player was a ringer. Coach wanted him. Team wanted him. Ryan calls me up. Is this possible? And I said, yeah. I was like, there's no problem. I can put a player on a roster. There's nothing wrong with it. Are you sure? I'm like, yeah. He talked to his organization, came back to me. It was back and forth for a few hours. He didn't feel comfortable. He did not want, he had a relationship with this tournament, the organization did. He did not want to express to the players on the team that we can bring a ringer in and we could win this tournament. He's like, I would rather lose the tournament and have the kids play together than bring in this ringer. It's that, the ethics and the commitment that he showed right there, the loyalty to the players, the team, and the integrity that he's shown for years, never mind the years that he's been calling me. What can we do to make the team better? What can we do to make my organization better? If you read in the guide, in the pamphlet tonight, they've been struggling in the north in my district, and they used to be huge, and now they're tiny. And he's trying to build them back, and he's doing it the right way. So this year, I'm very proud to announce Ryan McGrillis for the award.
Well, I'm truly humbled by this award. I want to thank DJ for nominating me. Our small organization out north central Massachusetts, about 2 hours from here. We're definitely a growing program. We were a small program with the classification last year. We've moved, now we're considered a medium program. We've grown enough for that. I want to thank Mass Hockey for all the programs that have helped us do that. We've done the Bruins Learn to Play last 2 years. We do the Achiever Grant. We've gotten that a couple times, so we appreciate your support, and we want to continue to grow the game of hockey out in the north central Massachusetts. Thank you.
The next one, I'd like to call Chris Meyer up to make the presentation. This one is the Duke Kumpel Special Achievement Award.
Congratulations to everyone on all the awards for tonight. This is a terrific event, and I am appreciative to be here. And I just got word that the recipient of this award is not here. I knew that. And he was supposed to send a video, and somehow he has managed to escape doing that. So, anyway, about 8 years ago, Dr. Dave Crandall of Spalding called the president of Parkway Youth Hockey to see if he could get some ice time and some people to work with him with the vets at Parkway Youth Hockey. He reached Nick McCummings, who was the president at that time. Nick's first question was, "What is sled hockey?" He had no idea. In the next few months, Nick and his son went, learned about sled hockey, worked with the veterans, brought them into the program, and really became hooked. And as they say, the rest is history. So I'll back up a minute. Nick started off as the district representative, as many in this room did. And then he worked his way up, took over Parkway Youth Hockey, became president. Most people in this organization know him. But once he got hooked on sled hockey, he went hog wild. He works with Bob Rotundo and does the sled hockey program with the Shamrocks. And he's been coaching them for about 8 years now. He has helped since starting the sled hockey and becoming completely dedicated to that, to the blind hockey, special hockey, stand-up amputee, and deaf hockey. I nominated him for this award because I went to one of his sled hockey clinics up with Bob Rotundo, and no one else could have done it. He managed to get me to try sled hockey. And for those of you who haven't, please do. And the sled hockey that you get to try it on is really, quote, easy compared to the sled hockey that someone like Kip, if he's here, apparently the sleds they use are just a whole different world. But at any rate, Nick got me to do that, and I sort of got interested in sled hockey, went to a few clinics with him and worked with some of the kids. Then when he started blind hockey, he brought Perkins, I think it was Perkins and Carroll, we had kids from there, that they brought to the Warriors Arena. And I went down to work with them, and I watched Nick. It was Nick's first blind hockey event in Massachusetts. And I watched him work with these kids with such, it'll bring tears to my eyes, compassion, commitment, dedication. He treated each one of those kids as if they were the center of the universe. And you could see the effect, not only on me and the other volunteers, but on the kids. It was remarkable. He has coached the blind hockey, formed a blind hockey team in Massachusetts called the Boston Blackouts. He's been traveling to do a blind hockey program in Connecticut, which is a huge commute for him back and forth. His dedication to this, his compassion, and his commitment to everyone should be able to play hockey, regardless of your physical stature or anything else. And he really, when I've watched him in the rink with the kids and with adults as well, he does a lot with the veterans hockey, it's truly inspiring. And it was for that reason I nominated him for this award. He truly deserves it. I'm sorry he's not here, but I want to thank the people I spoke to, including Pat Bowen, who gave me some information about Nick back in Parkway Youth Hockey. And I want to thank Nick for all he has done for Parkway Youth Hockey, District 1, Mass Hockey, and USA Hockey, because he is involved from the ground up, right at the blind hockey in Massachusetts, all the way through all the adaptive hockey programs up till national championships, which he participated in with his teams this year. That's the 15th year of disabled hockey national tournaments. So I just want to thank him for all of us, and if you ever have the opportunity, go work with him because you'll be truly inspired. So thank you to Nick.
Nick really is a remarkable guy, and he does represent Massachusetts on the disabled section at USA Hockey. Now I'd like to call up Tom Smith and Doc Asher for the Safety Award presentation, the Dr. Alan Asher Safety Award presentation.
Thanks, John. My name's Tom Smith. I'm lucky enough to be the chairman of the Massachusetts Hockey Safety Committee. And before we get into this award, our 2019 recipient, Kevin Stevens, we have a short video to show you.
And the big RT Express, Artie.
Kevin Stevens, two-time Stanley Cup winner.
Unbelievable feeling in here right now. It's unbelievable. I just can't, you don't even understand right now what's going on.
He shoots and scores. The hat trick for Kevin Stevens. Oh, no. Eddie Spaghetti.
Then he goes somewhere else. They jam it. Stevens shoots and he scores. That was a gimme.
Alone in front. Stevens scores. Kevin Stevens 25, Kevin Stevens.
We're all gonna have choices in life. 28 years old, never did a drug in my life. Someone handed me something. So one 30-second decision I made changed the past of my life. For the next 24 years, my life went like this, slowly, painfully. Like I sat with you guys all for a long time, guys, and sat there and say it's never gonna be me, you know? Now I'm sitting here talking to you guys because it was me.
I know how those people feel because I've been in those situations where I've been stuck, and when you're in it, you can't see it. It's very hard, it's a very difficult thing, addiction and substance abuse, and people need help, and we have to get out there and kind of educate people and try to do the best we can to help them.
So some people think they know Kevin's story, but he's gonna have an opportunity to come up and speak for a few minutes because he's truly such a remarkable person. I think it really hits home for us. So as I mentioned, the 2019 Dr. Allen A. Share Award winner, Kevin Stevens, grew up in Pembroke, Massachusetts. And he was like everyone in this room. He was affiliated with Mass Hockey, grew up through Mass Hockey with USA Hockey. Then he got a 4-year scholarship at BC. And after that, Kevin was a 1988 on the Olympic team. And then he joined the Pittsburgh Penguins. And he's been quoted by Mario Lemieux in saying, and I quote Mario, the best power forward in the world in the early 90s. And Kevin was on a line with Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, and himself. In 1991 and 1992, they won the Stanley Cup. And then in 92, he also became the third player ever to score more points than Wayne Gretzky. And then one night in New York, Kevin's life took a turn, which you saw in the video, and he'll explain more. And it turned into a 20-plus year battle that Kevin really fought for his life. And, you know, Kevin has scored many goals in his career and has made many choices. But the past 3 years is really an example that Kevin set and really who he is as a person. Not only has he been doing the right thing, he co-founded a nonprofit foundation, Power Forward, with his sister Kelly and his amazing team that's in front of us today. And they literally are changing the lives of those with opioid and alcohol addiction. And when us at the safety committee got introduced to Kevin and his mission and whatnot, it was infectious, it was contagious. We knew we had to be involved in some way. And then when you hear Kevin speak and how committed he is and how he doesn't want any person to go through what him and his family have gone through, it's just, Kevin, it's such a testament to what you're doing. We're so proud of you here at Mass Hockey, all of us, and also the guys we've spoken to, you know, up at USA Hockey. This year, there's no one more deserving of this award than you, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Allen A. Share to present you with the award.
I thought I did a very good job getting up those stairs. I'm so proud to have this award given to Kevin. I was with Kevin on Wednesday. We were talking to a group of children and adults down in South Boston. He was telling me if he could save one child from getting addicted, he was doing a job. If he could save a dozen, that's really terrific. I was also on the radio show Cross-Check with him. I'm so proud that he's getting this award. Kevin?
No, it's a great honor to be here tonight. It's a little bit different. You know, I was kind of trying to think what I wanted really to say tonight and how I was going to go about this, you know, because it's a little different audience here, But I'm basically just going to tell you the quick story of what I basically tell when I go out and talk to kids and talk to teams and talk to different groups, because it's pretty much, you know, it's about choices and decisions. You know, that's the basic what I stress to all the kids. It's about we're all going to have choices and decisions, and you know, we got to make the right ones. And I want to talk a little bit about the ones I made, the left-hand ones and the right-hand ones. I made some bad ones, and I made some good ones. So I'll just tell you, I grew up, the best thing, I was just talking to Donnie, the best thing about this whole thing, we're in Plymouth. You know, I only live 10 minutes down the street. Now, usually these things are in downtown Boston. I'm like, Plymouth, Mass? You're kidding me. But yeah, so it's just good to be here. And like I said, I'll talk about what I really talk about them. It's about choice and decisions. I basically, like I said, I grew up right down the street here in Pembroke and went to Silver Lake, a school that's right 10 minutes down the street. And I was lucky enough to go to Boston College after that and had 4 great years at BC. You know, played against Coach Humilly and Coach Mcshane. You know, those guys are here and they're tonight. And, you know, BC was great. Probably, you know, that's the first time I really get out there and was playing hockey, and I wasn't at home. It was kind of the first time away from home, and great players, great teams, great memories. And from there, I went to the 1988 Olympic team. And Smitty's here tonight, and he was one of our coaches, and that was a year, too, to remember. It was so much fun, and 8 months we traveled together with 25 guys, and, you know, I think we finished in 6th place, but, you know, the whole thing was phenomenal, and, you know, it was one of the best years of my life. From there, I was lucky enough to go in and play for Pittsburgh, and that's when, you know, my pro career started, and we started to build a pretty good team. Mario was already there. You know, we had some good players there. We were struggling a little bit, but we're starting to build a pretty good team. In '88, we didn't make the playoffs. I came back in '89, had a good year, started, like I said, build a team, and, you know, from there we went on and had great teams. In '91 was the first year we won the Stanley Cup, and that's kind of the, you know, in '90 I had like 40 goals. In '91, I became a pretty good player. You know, I was scoring a lot of goals. I think I had 55, 56 goals, and, you know, I was a first-team All-Star, and life was pretty good. You know, so we won the Stanley Cup that year. We come back, come home for the summer, come back the next year, and we go back-to-back. We win another one. And, you know, great teammates, great players, you know, from Mario to Yaga to Taka to Recchi to Paul Coffey to Tom Barrasso to Joey Mullen. You know, that's all on one team. You know, we should be winning, I think. I don't know. We beat Donnie's team a couple of times. That was good. But you know, it was, yeah, that year was great. That year was good. You know, like I said, I had a lot of goals again, a lot of playoff goals. Was a first-team All-Star. Then '93 was kind of where, you know, the path kind of went a little different. By far our best team, going for our 3rd Stanley Cup. I think we won the 18 games in a row that year, that season. You know, that's when 5-minute overtimes just ended, and, you know, we had a great team. It was kind of the middle of the year. We had just played the Rangers. You know, just like any other night, we go out with 10 or 12 of us, have a couple of beers. I'm sitting in a nightclub, I would say, and someone handed me something. You know, this is where, and I know now it was cocaine. I had no idea. I was 28 years old. Never did a drug in my life. Never really knew what drugs were. I took that and I went into the bathroom, and I did it. So I made a 15, 20-second decision to change the path of my life for the next 22 years. You know, I didn't know going in that night, going into the bathroom, I was going to take that and do that. I mean, and I thought I'd jump on the bus the next day, and life would go on, right? But things changed a little bit, and, you know, it didn't change overnight. But something happened in my brain. I had, you know, the gene. Like I tell all the kids, well, you don't know if you have that gene, right? I'm 28 years old, winning Stanley Cups. If you wanted someone's life, you really wanted my life. You know, I'm playing on the left side with Mario, and winning Stanley Cups. You know, I got a chance to score a lot of goals and be on a team for a long time. And I made that decision not knowing that anything was going to be in my brain. I didn't know I had that gene. I didn't know I was going to get addicted to drugs. You know, so that night was kind of kicked it off. And then like 2 months later, you say, I got an injury. I break all the bones in my face. And that's when the pain medication, but already opening up the can of worms with that cocaine I did, that thing I did in New York, you know, I've already got it going. You know, I already got something in my brain that's different. And now that happened. I was in the hospital a couple of months. From there, you know, I come out of the hospital, the next year I play, and I'm battling the addiction a little bit, you know? Things are different. I'm not working out like I worked out. I'm not preparing for games like I did. And we all know to be at the top, you know, you got to work out harder than anybody. You got to do things that other people don't do. You know, I used to ride the bike in the middle of the night because no one else was doing it. You know, I used to do things just to get an edge on guys. Now I've lost that edge because I really don't know what's going on because I don't know anything about addiction. But I've started an addictive personality and things are starting to go this way. So from there I go, you know, Pittsburgh the next year is okay. And I remember the following year, I wanted to get traded to the Bruins. I really didn't want to get traded, but I had to change. Something wasn't going right, you know. And playing with Mario, really the only thing you have to do is come to work every night and be ready to play hockey games. And I didn't think I could do that, you know. Things were changing, and you know. I remember him coming here to Massachusetts, coming in the summer with the owner to Massachusetts and saying, the Penguins want to sign you to a lifetime contract. And I said, no, think about that. That's when you know your brain's messed up. Yeah. That's when you know you're not thinking right. When they come here and tell you, you know, we'll give you like me, him, and our goalie, Barrasso. I say, no, I want to go to Boston. Just because I knew I needed change. And I thought that change in a place would be okay. But I know with the change, I had to bring myself, right? I couldn't leave my brain in Pittsburgh. I had to come here to Boston and didn't play well, got traded from there. You know, then the merry-go-round starts, and you know, the rehabs and all the things that happened, you know, and all the bad things that, you know, that happened. You know, my brain is just like the person that sits out in that corner down there, you know. I'm an addict, I have an addictive brain. You know, I'm in recovery now, you know. But from there, you know, my career kind of fizzled down because, you know, you can't do anything if you're addicted to something. If you want to be a doctor or anything else, you can't do it because, you know, I'm stuck in this thing. And the way I got out of this was, you know, I had to have the police come and knock my door down, right? You know, everybody, and then, you know, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But I know what's going on really because I'm hanging out with people over here, not positive people, negative people, and things happen. So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, from winning the Stanley Cups, first team All-Star, 22 years later, getting your door knocked in by the cops. That's what addiction did for me, you know. That's the best I was going to get. You know, and that's kind of, you know, that's what happens. And that's why, you know, that's kind of the message. It's about choices and decisions. So when that happens, I have to go to jail for a little bit, for 6 or 7 days, and I have to come out and see if I'm going to make a right-hand turn or left-hand turn, right? For some reason, I make a right-hand turn, decide I want to, you know, hang around people that are going to be good for me, positive influences, and do the right thing, and my life got better. You know, my life got better. But, you know, I've been sober maybe around 3 years now, and I do a lot of speaking to a lot of different people. You know, it's from players to adults to people in jail to people, you know, all people that struggle with this disease. But, you know, the disease is real. You know, that's the thing. You know, like I said, I wanted to score a lot of goals. I wanted to win a lot of Stanley Cups. And I made a choice, and I made a decision, right? And I paid the price for it, but not knowing anything about it. So, you know, today I just try to help people. You know, I work with the Penguins. I love the Penguins. You know, Mario's been great to me, giving me a job 3 times. You know, and but honestly, speaking like I think I'm alive. Honest, God kept me alive today to spread the message of hope. You know, because people can get better. You know, a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of people that are hopeless. You think they're hopeless. It's not true, you know, it's not true because people can do it. But it takes a little work, and it takes some time. And I like to get out there and talk to groups of kids because prevention is the biggest thing. Education is the biggest thing. Because when you do get stuck, like I got stuck, it's not easy to get out of it, you know. It's hard to get out of it. And that's what I do. It's important for me to go out there and whoever can help. Because this thing's real, guys. It's not going away. You know, I'm in the front lines of it, and I see it, and it doesn't pick and choose. You know, it doesn't matters you live in Duxbury or you live down in Roxbury, right? Doesn't matter. You know, if you want to play around with it and you want to try this stuff and you want to give it a shot, you know, you never know what's going to happen, right? And that's what happened to me. You know, I gave it a shot. And today, I don't do that. You know, I take it a day at a time. Like I said, I have a radio show. My sister helps me with a lot of my stuff. And, you know, we just try to get out there from here to Pittsburgh. You know, I do a lot in Pittsburgh because I played there and I was there for a long time. But like I said, if I can make a difference in one person's life, if I fly into Pittsburgh and speak to 200 kids and I can save one person, then it's worth me jumping in that airplane and going there. Because I know the disease is deadly. You know, I've seen a lot of people die and it's tough. So I appreciate it, USA Hockey. I appreciate being here. Congratulations to Donnie too. You know, he just well deserved and played against them, battled against them, and you know, he's a great player. So thanks again, and thanks for listening, guys.
Okay, the last award we're going to give before dinner is the President's Award. This is my last time doing this. Jean Ann, where are you? Can you come up with some of your hospitality friends? I didn't prepare any particular remarks for this because I think most people know Peter Giuliano, and it's an honor to give him this award. He is, I think I used the word rock for a few other people tonight and during the day, but Peter is one of the rocks of this organization. He will step in and do almost anything he's asked. He was an associate district registrar for District 10 for a long time. He coaches. Steve Palmacci asked him to do 2 districts as an associate district registrar, 1 and 10, which we now affectionately call 11. He was also asked to chair our tournament committee when Steve stepped down. He stepped in and he did that. He's done it well. And he just does anything you'd ask him to do, and he does it well. He also does the food for our hospitality suite, which, if you've been up there, is really very enjoyable. And so I want to, in my last award, acknowledge a great gentleman, Peter Giuliano.
I appreciate getting the award from John and Mass Hockey. A few thanks to go out to my family for letting me be here all the time, who couldn't make it tonight due to a softball tournament. Next people I want to thank are my 2 mothers right here, the Queen, Jean Ann, and Joan Nigro, who got me involved. Jean Ann Nigro and Joan Nardone. Also District 11, which is 1 and 10 now. Without those guys and everybody who does their job there, I don't do mine. Also, Kevin, Liz, Mike DiOrio, thank you, and I appreciate the award.
It's also Peter's birthday is coming up, and this is an inside joke. It's an inside joke. This is an inside joke. I'm not sure what that is, but apparently he likes them very much, and he has a supply of them in his house. Do you want to tell us what they are? And come on.
Happy birthday!
So these are arancini's, one of my favorites, and Jean Ann's daughter-in-law's mother, who works for me, continuously makes me 100 at a time. And I always have them in my freezer, and I always take a picture and send it to Jean Ann because she can't make them.
Did he smile? Did he smile?
We were trying to get him to smile and to laugh because he usually keeps a straight face. And with that, I'm going to ask Joe to come back up. What?
Well, for those in attendance who don't know, this is John's last function as a president. It's been 4 long years. John and I argue a lot. But as with everyone that's come in, he's done a great job. We've further along than we were. We're better now than when he came in, which is what we'd like to see from the president. And we'd like to show our appreciations. Steve?
Just want to say I was fortunate enough to receive this award from my good friend Kerry Allen 8 years ago. You come into this job as being president of Mass Hockey with full excitement and great ideas, and 4 years later you can't believe how fast the time went. It's really a wonderful experience to be president of this organization, and John, you did a great job. We really appreciate it.
And now we have the appropriate stuff to join these meetings. Some scotch and some whiskey. Thank you, John.
All right, just a short thank you for that acknowledgement. 4 years is a long time. It's time to turn it over to another person to take the organization, to continue to take the organization into the future. I'm very proud of the foundation we've laid in the last few years. It's not me that's done this. It's everybody out here and all our volunteers who've done the hard work to make this go. And I think we're in a very good place. And I hope we go forward with some good leadership into the future. And I thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart.
Now it's time to get up there. There you go. Okay, as promised, first of all, congratulations to all the recipients. One more round of applause. And now we'll take a break for dinner. We'll come back up afterwards with our Hall of Fame inductions. So Liz gave me a lot of material, and one of them was a list of anticipated attendees, and next to each person they had kind of their credentials, who they were and why they were here. And I noticed next to mine it said MC, Mass Hockey Hall of Fame, Hockey East, goalie. And I love the fact that she included goalie. And I might need to make up new business cards soon, so I was thinking I'm going to make them cards that are just going to say Joe Britannia, goalie. And then I may or may not put anything else on there. So I knew a friend once who had two sets of business cards. One had his name, phone number, and address. And the other one just had his name. So he had half in each pocket. So if he came to an event like this and he ended up getting caught in a corner with somebody who he really didn't want to talk to, and the guy says, "Hey, can you give me your card? I'd like to follow up with you," he would give him the one in the pocket that just had his name on it and said, "Hey, nice talking to you," and walk away, knowing the guy would never have a way to find out how to reach him. So increasingly, those types of cards, I think, are valuable. Before we start, and particularly with Donnie Sweeney here, I'd like to offer a semi-public personal thank you to him and the Bruins organization. I was out at the Congress with the Mass delegation, and we saw a game, whatever June 6th was. I'm not sure which game, 5. Many guys in their game jerseys, and as upset as the local following is, you can only imagine how upset Donnie and the guys on the team. I hope we can keep this in perspective. So in addition to being a Bruins fan, I've always been a Chicago Blackhawks fan, and I looked up when their season ended, and their season ended on April 5th. So Bruins fans had a full 10 weeks of hockey to follow and live and die with. And we're so spoiled in this area where our baseball team plays, maybe not this year, but they play well into October. Our football team plays into February, and our hockey team played till June 13th. So on behalf of all the Mass hockey fans, I'd like to offer a group thank you to Donnie and for the Bruins for extending our interest in the hockey season. All right, so now on to our inductions, and please take a look, if you have a second, at the printed program. You'll find the names of past inductees going back to the start of this event in 1995. Many of the inductees are here tonight. You'll see we have 4 new inductees who are here. We have 5 posthumous inductees. I have 2 acknowledgments I'd like to make at the start. First, for the posthumous group, for the older group, Gary Eggleston, with whom I drove down here tonight, has done a great job. Gary formerly of NHL Central Scouting, and many of you know him, but he's had a passion to keep alive the memory and the accomplishments of people who, in some cases, it may have been easy to forget. In some cases, it's amazing that they were not recognized earlier. But through his efforts over these last banquets, many of you have been to many of these dinners, you've seen the group catching up with people that probably should have been acknowledged some time ago. We had a number of people who were in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame who were not in the Mass Hockey Hall of Fame. And I think with this year's dinner, Gary tells me, I think he's caught up. And so I want to give Gary some credit for what he's done in that area. There he is, there he is. The other acknowledgement is the voice you'll hear on these videos that accompany the inductions of the posthumous inductees is that of Bernie Corbett, who's the voice of BU hockey and Harvard football, and those of us who know Bernie well realize he does not need any applause or response tonight, just to acknowledge his work for the group. So, when the four active Hall of Famers come up here, each of them will have a presenter. They'll pose for a photograph, and then without comment, they'll take a seat over here, and at the end of the evening, I'll conduct a brief Q&A with the four inductees. So let's begin. We're going to start with two of the videos, and the first is inductee George V. Brown.
In 1910, the Boston Arena was built, and with it, the Boston Athletic Association hockey team was founded. George Brown was the driving force behind the team, which played top amateur and college clubs in the eastern U.S. and Canada. Continuing his role as an American hockey pioneer, he brought hockey to Boston University in 1917 as the school's first athletic director. BU's MVP Hockey Award is the George V. Brown Award. When the arena burned down in 1918, Brown formed the corporation which built the new arena and continued to manage both the new arena and the BAA team. This club formed the core of the 1924 U.S. Olympic team, with 7 of the 10 players being BAA members, thus bringing American hockey to the Olympics. The United States won the silver medal, losing only to Canada in the gold medal game. Once Boston secured an NHL franchise, the first U.S. city to do so, he became part of the professional scene. When the Bruins moved into the new Boston Garden in 1928, he helped organize the Canadian American League, a forerunner to the American Hockey League, and entered the Boston Tigers. Brown became general manager of both the arena and Boston Garden in 1934. He was also part of an arena management group that brought Sonia Henne and world-class figure skating to the United States, and along with that, the Ice Capades. He coached or officiated track at every Olympics from 1908 to 1936. In addition to his Massachusetts hockey history, he was known as one of the area's best football officials. His most memorable football experience was in 1912, when he officiated the game between West Point and future President Dwight David Eisenhower and the well-known Carlisle Indians team and their star player, Jim Thorpe. Shortly after that, Mr. Thorpe and Mr. Brown became good friends, with Mr. Brown welcoming him to visit his home in Hopkinton. He was responsible for placing the starting line of the Boston Marathon in Hopkinton. A Brown family member has been the starter of the marathon every year but one since 1905, with George serving in that role from 1905 to 1937. The sculpture of George V. Brown, named The Starter, was erected on Hopkinton Common in his honor. Tom Hines, founder of the state hockey tournament, recalls Brown's great foresight regarding high school hockey. I told Mr. Brown when he was in charge of the Boston Arena, we didn't make much money that first go. He said, don't worry about it. He felt high school hockey would someday fill Boston Arena. He was right, as it later filled Boston Garden as well. Brown continued in his positions with the arena and Garden until his death in 1937, and his son Walter Brown took over. Even though he had strong connections to both football and track and field, hockey remained his first love. He was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1961 and U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 1973.
So I'd like to have members of the family who are here just to be acknowledged. We can stand. Thank you for being here to support the event. I apologize, I don't have all the names. I do know Tommy very well. And those of you who might have a quick conversation with Tom, recall that you've heard that voice someplace, you don't know where. So he's the PA voice of Boston College hockey, has been for a long time. So thank you for being here tonight. Our next inductee, we'll have a little video history of the great Eddie Shore.
Eddie Shore began his professional hockey career with the Regina Capitals in 1925, and then on to the Edmonton Eskimos in 1926, where he converted from forward to defense and was given the nickname the Edmonton Express. In 1926, Shore joined the Boston Bruins, and he helped the Bruins win their first Stanley Cup in 1929 and their second cup in 1939. His skill and charisma throughout his career as a Boston Bruin broadened the fan base in an area that was already a hockey hotbed. Shore then retired following the 1939 season and bought the Springfield Indians of the American Hockey League, where he became player-owner. In 1940, Shore and 8 other arena managers organized the Icecapades Ice Show. Although retired from the NHL, he played 2 more seasons in Springfield. The Indians halted operations during World War II when the U.S. Army took over the Coliseum, and Shore moved his players to Buffalo, where he coached the team to Calder Cup championships in 1943 and 1944. Following the war, Springfield resumed play, and Shore returned. Mr. Shore's Springfield Indians played a significant role in the continuing development and enthusiasm for youth hockey in the greater Springfield area. He instituted a youth hockey program and started the Greater Springfield Amateur Hockey League, for which he donated the ice time so that more kids could learn to play hockey. The frugal and ornery owner-coach showed his warm side when dealing with the kids, and he would be there to greet them when they arrived at the rink at 6 a.m. every Saturday morning. Gene Grazia from West Springfield High School, and later a member of the 1960 U.S. Olympic gold medal team, was probably one of them. The Indians prospered under Mr. Shore's ownership, making the playoffs 12 times while winning 3 Calder Cups in a row from 1960 to 1962. In 1967, the team refused to play after Shore's player suspensions led to a legal battle, which ended with Shore giving up day-to-day operations of the club. The genesis of the NHL Players Association stems from that incident. Shore regained control of the team in 1974, changed its name back to the Indians, restored its traditional blue, white, red colors, and continued to own the team until he sold it in 1976. His influence on the game of hockey in Massachusetts, as well as the U.S., is legendary. For his contributions to the game of hockey in Massachusetts, Eddie Shore was awarded the vanity license plate Mr. Hockey by the Commonwealth. The 7-time NHL All-Star defenseman was awarded the Hart Trophy as NHL MVP a record 4 times. The Eddie Shore Award is given annually to the AHL's best defenseman. He was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1947, the same year that his number 2 was retired by the Boston Bruins. In 1970, he was awarded the Lester Patrick Trophy for contributions to U.S. hockey, and in 1975, he was elected to Canada's Sports Hall of Fame.
I had the pleasure of sitting for a few minutes with the members of Eddie's family. I met Eddie the second and the third, and I met Bob, and I know there's an Eddie the fourth who's not here tonight. Also had some historical clarification that when hockey media refer to Bobby Orr as the first rushing defenseman, none other than Bobby Orr himself has said that's not true. Eddie Shore was the first rushing defenseman in the National Hockey League. So thank you for being here, guys, and congratulations. It's my pleasure now to call up the first presenter of the evening, a gentleman who needs no introduction in this room. To present Nick DeMarco, please welcome Dan Esdale.
Anyway, I have the great honor tonight to introduce our recipient, Nick DeMarco. Let me just tell you a little bit. I'm going to do something different tonight. I usually don't read off of anything. But tonight, I just didn't want to forget anything, Nick. So a little bit about Nick. Nick began playing hockey as a youth on the parks in Boston, played club hockey as a teen into his early 20s, began coaching in 1971 when his sons decided to become involved in hockey. From that early beginning, Nick had coached Learn to Skate, Learn to Play, then on the mites through midgets, house and travel teams at all levels. His coaching roles continued to CYO teams reign in a period of 20-plus years. As a builder, Nick witnessed the challenges that local surrounding town programs had, fielding teams and maintaining parity for all those that were enrolled. That was a challenge. Nick was instrumental in the merging of the nearby Foxborough Youth Hockey, and then was able to establish a regional house in Taunton with the help of the state director of Rinks, which arranged the ice available for Saturday and Sundays for the new program. The teams were set up by ability and not age, and still flourishing, drawing youngsters from the surrounding towns. What has to be understood is that such a merger did not fit into the organization of AHACM, now Mass Hockey, which created a true challenge for Nick. However, he successfully survived the political and regulatory storm that followed. You had to be around Mass Hockey to understand that one. That paved the way for other bordering towns, which Nick was instrumental to unite, as there were 3 different Mass Hockey districts, another challenge. However, the crossover of district territories became another challenge for Nick, but being driven by his concerns for the greater benefit of kids, he stood by his conviction to make things better, even if it was working outside the boundaries of Mass Hockey. Once he got things rolling, he stepped up by creating opportunities, organizing international exchanges with the French, English, and Mohawk Indians in Montreal. That something went on for years until they had the scare of the meningitis up there. And all that is before he got involved in Mass Hockey, which he served multiple capacities. As for his roles with Mass Hockey, wow, here's the list. District Director, founding father of the Cape Cod Whalers organization, Director of the John Cunniff Player Development Camps, President Commissioner of the Mass Select League, founder of the nationally acclaimed Tier 1 tournament, summertime, USA Hockey's Mass District Coach-in-Chief, graphic design of all the Mass Hockey logos, pins, plaques, and apparel, and if you look around the room, that's all Nick DeMarco's work. Effectively served in countless communities, and I mean effectively. Nick was not a yes man, but definitely a gentleman with a quiet style, conducted himself with class at all times, guided by a code and moral compass which earned him the greatest respect by all that knew and worked alongside him. By his actions and professionalism, he raised the bar to all around him. In his later years, he was known to say, "I'm getting too old for this." My response was, Nick DeMarco in his worst day was better than most on their best day. When standing on the sidelines and observing Nick, a popular saying always came to mind. There's 3 types of people in this world. There are those that make things happen. There are those that watch things happen. There are those that never knew anything happen. We know where Nick DeMarco fit in that picture. So in closing, tonight is the night that we, family, friends, peers, colleagues, and the Massachusetts Hockey Hall of Fame formally and proudly recognize and honor Nick DeMarco, his selfless service and contributions to our great sport and Mass Hockey organization, so that his legacy will be indelibly recorded for all of time in the Mass Hockey Hall of Fame. Nick DeMarco.
Nick's going to have the awkward pleasure of sitting there and looking at everybody for the next few minutes. The year I went in, I was the first one to go in, and it was a longer group of people, and I just sat there and tried not to spit up on myself while I was there. For about 20 to 30 minutes, I pulled it off. So now we move on to college hockey. Will take some center stage. We have 2 more videos to come up. But first, we'll introduce you to the career of Vic Heiliger.
Vic Heiliger played high school hockey in Concord, Mass., where he was captain and a high-scoring forward, often scoring 3 or more goals a game. He was also an outstanding baseball player. He then played for a year at Lawrence Academy, where he continued to excel in hockey and baseball before entering the University of Michigan. He then starred for the Wolverines through 1937, earning All-American honors, while scoring a school record 116 goals. Following graduation in 1937, Heiliger played for the Stanley Cup champion Chicago Blackhawks in 1938 and again in 1944 while sandwiching in a coaching stint at the University of Illinois. With the Blackhawks, Heiliger played with Johnny Gottselig, who later coached the Hawks. He attributed his own development as a coach to former Blackhawk coaches Bill Stewart and Paul Thompson. Vic compiled an outstanding coaching record at Michigan, as well as the University of Illinois and the United States Air Force Academy. In 1940-41, his Illinois team posted a 17-3-1 record, becoming unofficial national champion. The following 2 seasons, the team had a combined record of 19-5-2. His greatest years were at Michigan. Starting with the first NCAA championships ever staged in 1948 at Colorado Springs, they went on to capture 6 national titles. Dartmouth fell that year, followed by Boston College in 1951, Colorado College in 1952, and Minnesota in 1953. The last of the victories was particularly sweet, as Minnesota had beaten Michigan in 3 of their 4 regular season meetings. 1955 saw Michigan beat Colorado College. Heiliger's final national title followed the next year with a 2-1 overtime victory over St. Lawrence. After retiring from Michigan, he returned to coaching by overseeing the startup hockey program at the U.S. Air Force Academy. Heiliger came to the academy in 1966 to coach the club team, and in 68-69 he became the Falcons' first varsity head coach. In 1971-72, the 4th season of varsity hockey, he led the Falcons to a 25-6 season. 2 years later, he officially retired. Vic Heiliger did so many great things for so many people, said John Matchips, who played for Heiliger on 3 national championship teams at Michigan. He was a great human being, an outstanding coach, and was instrumental in developing the WCHA and college hockey in general. Vic was an American hero and legend who gave much of himself to his players and friends, said Lou Vero, coach of the 1984 U.S. Olympic hockey team. He was a true gentleman who always did good for everyone. Heiliger helped revolutionize college hockey as the first coach to actively recruit players. He was also instrumental in organizing the first NCAA championship and the formation of a conference that became the WCHA. At the international level, he played a major role in helping to organize the only U.S.-hosted IIHF World Championship in 1962, which was held in Colorado Springs. He also served as head coach of the 1966 U.S. national team. Vic was elected to the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 1974.
It's interesting to hear these bios spread out because you know a little bit about these people. You've read about them. I never had a chance to meet Vic. But when you hear it all at once, it's just an amazing hockey life. And I had a chance to meet his daughter, Susan, who's here. Thank you, and her husband, David, for coming out. I did have the pleasure of meeting another member of the family, Al Renfrew, who we spoke about earlier, who was a longtime coach. I think he coached not only Michigan, but Michigan Tech as well. And he, if I could be half the after-dinner speaker that Al was, those are the guys in the room here, Mcshane, Umili, we've heard him speak Billy, he's pretty good. So congratulations. The next video, again with a college hockey history slant to it, the great Jim Fullerton.
Jim Fulton starred at Beverly High School, where he as the goaltender earned 4 letters for hockey and also lettered in football and track. He then played football and hockey at Norwich University and posted a 2.71 goals against average for his 4 years. He was captain his senior year and accepted an offer to coach Norwich the following year, which he thought was a mistake due to his having to coach former teammates. He turned down the opportunity to play professional hockey as a Boston Bruin in order to accept a teaching and coaching job at Northwood School in Lake Placid, New York. He remained there for 24 years, bringing their school solid recognition as a hockey power and sending numerous players on to the college ranks. Fullerton also worked as an official, and from 1933 to 55, he refereed professional college and high school games in the Lake Placid area. He later became vice president of the New England chapter of the AAU referees and was referee-in-chief for the 1939 National Amateur Championship in Lake Placid. One of the true gentlemen in the sport, Jim Fulton became the first full-time coach at Brown University in 1955. In his early years, he sometimes had trouble filling out a roster at the Ivy League school, known more for its academics than its athletics. But in the span of a decade, he developed a strong, respected hockey program. In 1965, his team won the Ivy League title and went on to the NCAA Final Four. It was the most successful hockey season in Brown University history, and he received the Spencer Penrose Award as the nation's Coach of the Year. While at Brown, he continued to show his organizational skills by becoming a driving force in the formation of the American Hockey Coaches Association and was elected president. The organization now awards the Jim Fulton Trophy in his honor every year. In 15 seasons at Brown, he ran a first-rate operation, and his outstanding coaching ability was recognized as a 4-time recipient of the New England Coach of the Year Award. He was named to the U.S. Collegiate Hall of Fame in 1971 and Brown University's Hall of Fame in 1974. He coached the U.S. in the World Games in 1972. He was also a member of the U.S. Olympic Committee for that same year, and later scouted for the Chicago Blackhawks and New York Islanders. Jim was considered an innovator, with many crediting him with developing defensive strategies such as the box, triangle, and one-on-two diamond tactics. He had a strategy for each opponent that kept his teams competitive even when short of depth and talent. He hired the first female assistant coach in Laura Stam to teach power skating, and in 1964, Brown co-ed Nancy Scheifelen suited up and practiced with the men. She was an organizer of the Pembroke Pandas, the first recognized American women's college hockey team. Mr. Fulton was given the Hobey Baker Legend of Hockey Award in 1989 and was elected to the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 1992.
On one of my other jobs these days is to work for the American Hockey Coaches Association. So I've been present when a number of Jim Fulton Awards have been given out. It's one of the few awards that does not necessarily go to a coach. It goes to the supporting cast of people who help the game, whether they're referees, or sales reps, or broadcasters. This past year, the award went to Bob Norton, who many of you know is a former assistant coach at UNH and a broadcaster for Nesson and ESPN for many years. So Jim's son, Jim, is here. I'm not sure where in the room he is, but please stand. There he is. I still have a number of, as I was telling him before the dinner, a number of handwritten letters from his father talking about the state of the game. And I think he might not like some of the changes that have taken place in the game that you and I have discussed over the years. So it goes on. It's different, but it goes on. Next, I'm going to act as MC and presenter to the next inductee. A year ago, Hockey East bestowed one of its most prestigious awards, the Founders Medal, to Dick Umili. I had the pleasure of presenting it on the ice at the Wintermore Center at UNH. I thought it might be nice to get a Melrose High School jersey, number 15, and wear it during the presentation. Given that I probably couldn't fit into an actual Melrose game jersey, I went out and had one made up. Some of you might not appreciate the significance of an Arlington High School graduate wearing a Melrose High School jersey in public, but I thought Coach Umili, if I could impress one person, that's all that mattered. And which of the grandchildren has the jersey now? I think they were fighting over it that night, so I know one of them walked away with it. You can read the bio in the program. It'll tell you a lot of why we're honoring Richie, and it's, it's hard to win consistently at the Division I level. So seeing 20 seasons of 20 wins, 20-plus wins by itself is impressive. But the bio doesn't capture the real reason that he's been so respected over the years by players and rival coaches alike. And that's because of the kind of person he is. He comes from an era, which I think Vic and Jim, previously honored, were part of that era when coaches could go out and compete and try to do everything else to ruin the other guy's night and then shake hands and go out and have dinner afterwards. That doesn't happen very often anymore. So we recognize him, like most Hall of Famers, not only by what he accomplished as a coach, but more importantly, how he went about it. It's my pleasure to honor the pride of Melrose and UNH honoree, inductee, Richard Umili. So we have one more video. I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman when I was a student at Harvard, where he played and coached. So let's look at the history and the life of John Chase.
John Chase began his hockey career playing at Milton Academy in 1922-23. He transferred to Exeter Academy for his senior year and entered Harvard in 1924. At Harvard, Chase's strength and skill as a hockey player emerged. He was a regular center as a freshman and was first-line center on the varsity for 3 years and was named captain his senior year. Chase also excelled at baseball at Harvard and later as an amateur player. He earned 6 varsity letters at Harvard between the two sports. Following graduation, Chase was sought after by professional teams, but chose instead to pursue a business career. He did, however, continue his local hockey career with such teams as the Boston Athletic Association and Braeburn Hockey Club, which were strong contenders because of Chase's presence in the lineup. In 1932, he captained the United States Olympic team, which captured the silver medal at Lake Placid, losing a heartbreaking final game to Canada 2-1. Due to worldwide economic conditions, only 4 countries' hockey teams participated. Because of that shortage, 2 amateur teams played games in order to complete 17 games played, thus making it an official Olympic event. A curiosity of the event was that one of those games featured a team made up of combined American and Canadian Olympic players. In 1940, USA Hockey, then known as A-House, hosted its first ever non-adult national championship. Classified as the U.S. Junior National Championship, it was held at Boston Arena and featured 8 teams of varying ages, many comprised of players in their late teens. One team, the Boston Junior Olympics, clawed its way to the final game on the strength of future Dartmouth star, 18-year-old Dick Rondo, but they ran into a Boston buzzsaw called the 97 Club. Its headliners included John P. Chase, then 35 years old and already a veteran of Olympic play. 8 years after leading the USA to the silver medal in Lake Placid, he scored 3 times in an 8-6 win for the Boston 97 Club, which made them the first ever USA Hockey National Junior champions. When his playing days were over, Chase coached the Harvard varsity for 8 years, from 1942 through 1950, with time away during World War II. Not only was John Chase a graceful, heady player and playmaker, he was also a very talented coach. The pressures of coaching and his job in the investment business forced him to retire from coaching. Despite limited practice facilities, he consistently put good teams on the ice. Mr. Chase took time away from coaching to serve in the European theater during World War II and was responsible for all radio countermeasures for Allied forces. He was awarded 2 Purple Hearts during his service. At the end of the war, he briefly served behind the Iron Curtain and then returned to coaching Harvard partway through the 1945-46 season. He served under Presidents Truman, Kennedy, and Johnson on the Defense Advisory Committee and became Associate Administrative Director of American Defense Research. The John P. Chase Skating Rink at the Hayden Recreation Center in Lexington, Mass. Is named in his honor. He was elected to the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame in 1974.
So today, if a coach is on the Defense Advisory Committee, it's usually about whether the defenseman should come up into the play or pinch, or a little bit different than what you had to do, than what he had to do. By the way, I was hoping we got a picture of Nick and Richard and myself. We could send to the local chapter of the Sons of Italy. It would have been nice. We move to our third Hall of Fame inductee. Between the presenter and the recipient, these two guys have won 7 NCAA championships and 6 National Coach of the Year awards. Our presenter is in the UMass Lowell Hall of Fame, and in 2017 was honored by the Hobie Baker Award Foundation as that year's Legend of College Hockey. To introduce Mike Mcshane, I'd like to call up Billy Riley.
Well, Mike Mcshane grew up in Wakefield, Massachusetts, and started his hockey days as a peewee with his brother John. They first played together, and his brother John told me a story that in the first game together as line mates, John was fortunate enough to get a goal. And after the goal was scored, he looked to his brother John for recognition, and Mike, being the competitor that he is, said, "You know, you could have passed to me." Mike is one of the most competitive guys I know. I played against him on many fronts. He is known for his tenacity and his toughness and his ability to get the most out of players. If you don't come committed, Mike will get the best out of you, and in the end, you know, you'll become the player that he was. And Mike learned his hockey skills and competitiveness. I should really throw this thing away and just Mike had a lot of success at Wakefield High. He was the first freshman player to play on the varsity. He took Wakefield High to the Massachusetts state tournament in his sophomore year, and in his junior year he was the leading scorer. From Wakefield, he went to Tabor Academy and became an All-Scholastic, and he was the most valuable player of the team. And they won the tournament, the prep school tournament, and was the MVP of the tournament before going on to UNH. Mike was a tireless recruiter at New Hampton Prep School. He once had a visiting team from either Manchester or Concord. I forget which one it was, but he was so impressed by the opponent, that was high school opponent, that he talked the boy into staying at New Hampton. Don't get on the bus and just stay at the school. Within a week's time, he had the boy matriculated there, signed up, and enrolled in the school. He might have even played him before he got signed in, to be honest with you. But that's what a competitor he was. At Dartmouth College, he was so instrumental and such a great recruiter. He, along with George Crow as his mentor, he took Dartmouth to 2 NCAA tournaments. And from Dartmouth, he went on to St. Lawrence Academy. At St. Lawrence, he took them to in 5 years, he took them to 4 ECAC championships and 1 NCAA championship. From there, he went to Providence College and had 9 successful years at Providence. And he then took a year's sabbatical before going on to Norwich. But I was fortunate enough to say, hey, Michael, why don't you come with me for a year, and I'll line you up at Boston University and get you involved in the master's program. Well, he was a little reluctant. He didn't think thought he was been out of school too long. And I said, well, don't worry about it. I'll set up the interview. I can kind of mentor you, help you along the way. I was in my 3rd degree at Boston University. And in fact, I was old enough to be hanging with the professors. I was as old as the professors. So just to loosen him up, I set the interview up in a bar. And he said, well, I think I kind of like this style, you know. I said, and guess what? It's more papers and not a lot of exams, so don't worry about it. And so then from St. Lawrence, after getting his master's degree, he went to Norwich and went on to be the most successful coach in the history of Norwich University. And he won in his career. He won 741. He had 741 wins, 5 national awards as Coach of the Year, 5 national Coach of the Year awards, 25 coaching awards, and he finished 7th in the country in victories. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Mike Mcshane, my dearest friend and most competitive guy I know.
So we come to our final Hall of Fame inductee. As I suggested when we started this, to look at the bio in the program. And I'm going to do double duty again here, proudly. Well, I'm pretty sure everyone in the room knows Donnie's current occupation, and you may recall where he played in college and that he played for the Bruins. I don't know if everyone appreciates he played 15 seasons on defense for the Bruins. And I don't know how many defensemen have played with any same team for 15 years. His career was a testament to hard work and the great skating ability that those of us who watched him when he was younger could see right from the beginning. As much as I felt qualified to speak to his career, I sought out a couple of other Harvard people who mutual friends of ours who I thought would have a more legitimate input. Kevin Hampy was a classmate of mine from Dedham High School. Was a longtime Harvard assistant, was on the Billy Cleary's staff and others when Donnie was in Cambridge. Said Kevin, Don was a swift skating defenseman who was tough for his size and could move the puck out of his end. Some people thought he was too small to play in the NHL at the time he signed, but he proved them wrong. He worked out, got bigger and stronger. Determination, toughness, and hockey smarts allowed him to have a long and successful career in the National Hockey League. Yesterday I called Jerry Pulaski. Jerry was a teammate. I think they maybe even lived together a little bit after college. I couldn't get him to stop talking about Donnie. He spoke about working out with him, seeing how competitive he was, how dedicated he was. He used the same words that Kevin used: commitment, dedication, quiet, loyal. I made a comment that I said, Donnie doesn't seem to be one of those guys that looks for attention. And he said, geez, I live a mile away from the guy. I can't talk to him. But he quickly added, but if I needed him, I'd call him and he'd be there. I heard one of the commentators on TV the other night comment about, quote, the deals that Cam Neely made at the deadline, end quote. Well, I'm not sure, but I assume that Cam is involved with these things. I like to believe that the deals were engineered by our honoree tonight. This sort of thing happens when you shun the limelight and you don't feel the need to jockey for attention. He's here tonight, and I'm sure he wouldn't want to make a big deal. Hey, I'm here because I have this honor. But he's been busy the last few weeks. And I naively said, so when's the draft coming up? He said, next weekend. Oh, where is it? Vancouver. So he might be busy still. So it's a great pleasure to bring up our last honoree from the Hall of Fame this year, Don Sweeney. I messed up. I saw a note on this that said Don Sweeney video, and I thought that was in case he was predisposed. So let's play the Don Sweeney video now.
Without a shot in this period. Here comes Oates, and they had plenty. Oates, Don Sweeney, he scores! Don Sweeney cutting right up the middle, put a forehand shot by Healy, set up by Oates. It is 4-4.
Good hustle by Don Sweeney coming in. The Bruins kind of flat-footed, not doing much. They certainly needed an effort from one person, and then Don Sweeney supplied it. Carried it through center ice. Their only shot of the period. Here's Sweeney in the unfamiliar position, uses the screen. Healy does not see it, kind of kicked it at it anyway. It's a combination of being screened and not reacting well. It was right through the arm, the blocker, and the body.
Adam Oates again. So if Buffalo is not playing tonight, we'll check it. And it's kept in by Albeline. Albeline moving in. Get around the board. Don Sweeney buried him. Oh, what a hit. The fans are still reacting to it.
I really think their offense is going to come alive. They've got Anson Carter really showing great signs.
And a 2-on-1 break here. Kristich in with Sweeney. Sweeney shot, score!
Is over. Samsonov checked by McKee. Sweeney shoots. He scores!
Watt deep for Ajak. Don Sweeney lost his helmet on the play. And Kristich ties up the man. Allison with the puck has somebody in front. Sweeney scores!
think we've embarrassed Donnie enough by showing, I thought we were going to see all 52 goals. I've heard the line before. I was a 50-goal scorer in the NHL when Mike Milbury used the same line. It's cumulative, right, for 15 seasons. So I'm going to do my best Phil Donahue here with the microphone and the Q&A period here. And having sat in these seats before, I think the most important thing is to make sure everybody that was recognized has a chance to express what they're thinking about tonight. I've got a few questions, but I want to make sure before we're through everybody can say something. And I want to start with Nick, since he's been sitting up here by himself for the longest time. So we heard from the introduction all the different roles you've had and so forth, and I used to meet you at the Sunday morning clinic somewhere, level 1 clinic. But when you have a night like this where you have that little retrospective of what you've done and you see the group here, what goes through your mind on a night like this? I think we're all going to have our own microphones. I assume that's on. If not, you can use this. Talk. Yep, you got it.
What was the question?
What goes through your mind on a night where your whole career is kind of summed up and people are recognizing you for all the different roles you've had?
Well, I tell you, I just am thinking about all the different things we accomplished, and it's amazing. A lot of times I'll be in a store and some kid would come up to me with his little kids, yell out, "Hey, coach, remember this, remember that," and that makes me feel.
No grandkids yet? They haven't come up with you?
No, not me. I got a grand dog.
Oh, okay.
No, but just seeing the faces of the kids I've coached, I've had events with, it really makes me feel good when they come up to me and talk to me about it. It gave them a memory.
And you've made a difference.
A little bit.
Yeah. Donnie, I want to ask, I have one question for you, but I also want to give you a quick opportunity. I mean, everyone's had the team on the mind this week, and you made a quick comment about what kind of people they were, what kind of guys, and just to give you the chance publicly to acknowledge how you observed this team this year.
Well, we had exit meetings yesterday with the guys, and I even after the game, I didn't have any words, to console. A lot of these guys are grown men that have laid everything they possibly can on the line to win, and the sacrifices they've had. I relayed the fact that I've lost in the Stanley Cup Finals as well, and some guys will take with that for the rest of their lives, as we do. If I block a shot that Peter Klima scores in triple overtime, I think we win the Stanley Cup. But for me, in thinking about nights like tonight, it's really just about the people. It's about I look at the list of people that I played, and I look at the courage that Kevin Stevens has to stand up in front of people, and I played with Kevin, played against Kevin. He blocked maybe Stanley Cups that I had a chance to win, and as accomplished he is, but the courage that he has to stand up in front of his peers and admit things. It's really about the journey that you get a chance to meet people. I mean, I came to the New England area so long ago and was jealous as hell of not being able to play in Mass, Super Series against Minnesota, even though I was, from New Brunswick. But I played in Hockey Night in Boston and against so many great players from the Massachusetts area. It's really about the people. It's not about the buildings, it's not about the wins and losses. It's just the interaction of people. And it goes back that to answer your question, I'm so proud of the group of guys that put everything on the line. I said, my dad kind of taught me, I don't think you really deserve things in life. I think you have to earn them. And I honestly believe our team had earned the right to be a Stanley Cup champion. They just fell just a little short.
Thank you for that. You did reference what was in my formal question is you came to New England, by my math, almost 40 years ago, I think, when you went to St. Paul's. And now you're such a big part of our culture. How do you compare with the hockey culture you grew up in and then the hockey culture you adopted as you came to New England?
Well, it was unique to leave, Canada to play hockey in the United States at that time. But for me, it was just the path that my father's a school teacher and my brother was at Brown and introduced me to a prep school environment that I didn't even know existed. Very overwhelming to walk on to the campuses and interview, but when I was there, I found home, and I really never left. I spent all my time down in the summers. I worked at Harvard. Was lived with a family out in Acton. Just was very fortunate again to meet people that adopted me in a lot of ways, as I've felt native to here. I mean, home is where I grew up, but this is really my home, and you know, Joe, you know me very well. Jack Greene was one of my best friends, and you know, we just lost Jack recently, and I think about him all the time as the person that, you know, I identify as a Massachusetts, you know, hero.
Legend. Yeah.
And those are the people that really have impacted my life the most.
Jack Greene, who was on the 48 and then 60 Olympic teams, captain of the 60 team, I believe, was a fireman in Brookline. But to play 12 years apart back then, these weren't NHL players playing, and a character that everybody wanted to see down at the Bright Center. Before I turn to my right to these two gentlemen, we have a little video from a NESN program. I think I'll remember this video correctly.
I got to tell this story, but we're playing BU, and it's a great game, and it's on NESN. My mom's watching the game, and she was a big fan, and she never used any kind of profanity. The game's on, NESN's televising it, and there was a bad call early in the third period. I had too much to say to the referee, and I get the heave-ho. So, and I'm wearing my Italian shoes. They just made the ice, and it's slippery as hell. And NESN's got the camera on me. But not only did they have it when I walked off the ice, but they caught exactly what I said. My mother didn't talk to me for months, because NESN got me on TV using
That's a good one. The only time you ever did.
But I remember walking across the ice, Jack sitting there watching me the whole time, just waiting for me to slip and fall. And that's all I had. Don't fall now.
He would have caught you.
So a few years later, I'm at the Whittemore, and I'm arguing with the referee, and the referee starts to go away, and I grab him by the shirt, you know, come here. And he looks at me and kicks me out of the game. So now I got to walk across the ice. Now you got to walk across diagonally from my, and fortunately it wasn't slippery ice, but I'm walking across, and Dickie's just like this. So I don't think anything of it. You know, I get home. And about 4 days later, I get a picture in the mail. Shows me from behind, the whole ice empty, me just getting the exit, you know. Hit the road, Jack.
I sent him the photo, signed it.
Jack always had a special relationship with the refs.
Yes.
You know, we were playing a game with him over at BU, and in between the periods, my manager, student manager, Joe D'Antonio, who's now the commissioner of the Colonial League, comes running around the corner. He says, "Coach, coach." And I says, "What's up, Joe?" He goes, "I just saw Jack Parker go in the referee's room." I go, "What?" He says, "Coach Parker just went in the referee's room." So I got to see what's going on up there, you know. Of course, he had his office right beside the referee's room, very conveniently. Sure. So I beeline it up. I knocked on the door. I open it up, and Jack's talking to the refs. It's Jack. And he goes, "Mike, what are you doing in here?" I said, "What am I doing in here? What are you doing here?" "I'm just asking them a question." So we had a few words, and that was it. But
well, you guys remember we went through a period where you guys were wearing mics on the bench. Never live. Never live.
I don't think I ever wore one.
Always, you did. No, I know for a fact you did, because I was going to say, I don't know that I've even ever told you this before, but you know, we'd play in the third period a little snippet. Yeah. Yours were really short. Okay, a lot. But we would gather in the truck after and watch the best stuff. We'd all sit there after as you were like talking to a ref. And you go, "Come over here for a second. I got a quick word for you." But that was great, because we got great insight, and you guys allowed us to do that, and that was part of that trust. You talk about the relationship, right? You have to trust that the network isn't going to do anything that will make you look bad. And you guys allowed us and the fans to come inside the locker room, to come onto the bench.
We're all personal friends with the announcers. We all knew them. You know, it wasn't as, you know, so we weren't worried about those guys, you know, giving us a hard time. Yeah. And we knew it was so valuable. We wanted to make sure that NESN was happy with us, that we stayed on every week, you know. So you want to come in the dressing room, they used to bring the cameras in the dressing room before the game once in a while, sure.
And for a kid at home,
it was awesome.
You know, that you're going to go recruit. Yeah. That's everything.
Yeah, it's great. There's nothing like, especially fans, young kids coming in the locker room, and that's what it's all about.
So they had about 2 hours of footage. They cut it down to an hour, or whatever it was. It was pretty good. Yeah, and you all behaved yourselves, too. I was pleasantly surprised with that. So hockey's a funny game. You guys grew up so far apart, Melrose and Wakefield. You both played at UNH with Charlie Holt. You both coached together at Providence College, and now on a Saturday night in Plymouth, you're going into the Hall of Fame together. So, congratulations. Mike, you had I'm going to let Mike go because he had a chance recently to reminisce because they had a time for you last weekend, was it, up in Norwich? And what goes through your mind with all this victory tour you got going here?
I know my wife's getting sick of it. You know, she said, this Mcshane thing, it's about time we move on, cut the lawn. But Dickie and I, you know, we go back a long time. And I told his grandchildren, you know, I'm the reason you're here. And they went, what? I go, I introduced Rose to Richie one night in the cafeteria. And it was a blind date a little bit. He hesitated for about 2 seconds. And then I called him an idiot. And he came down. And then they ended up going out, and we were roommates at the time, so it was we had a great experience. And like Donnie said, it's the relationships. We had a tremendous time at UNH. I've been so fortunate. I've coached on every level, you know, 4 different colleges and so forth. And a couple of guys I haven't seen in years showed up from New Hampton School. When we had the old rink back then, there was no roof. We skated outside. And that was a lot of fun, watering taking the hose out and everything. But my coach, Charlie Holt, was our coach, was a great guy. He said, that's where you belong, Mike. And I appreciate it. And I've been just fortunate to have my family last week. We had our family up to Norwich. And I'm just grateful for this. Joe, thank you very much. And all the people that do the groundwork to help us out, to get the players where they go. It's very, very important. Continue your great work. Thank you.
What Mike didn't tell you is that I was a high school hockey coach at the time, coaching at Watertown High School. And before I go there, I want to make sure that about this night, it's a special night being honored by this organization and all of the special people and the honorees and the legends that are here for hockey. The hockey family is second to none. There's nothing like the hockey community. But to have my family, my wife, my daughters, my brother, who was my role model growing up, my sister and daughters and grandchildren here, to share this with myself is a special night. Going back, I mean, I was fortunate growing up in Melrose. Charlie Holt, who was the coach at UNH for both Mike and I, he was a Melrose guy. And I didn't get recruited by Coach Holt, Ruby Yorkman, who was a great coach who went on to North Dakota. I was recruited by him. But the fact that he was a Melrose guy, and we were fortunate to play for him and learn how to coach and play the game the way it was supposed to be. Joe Battaglia, who was our commissioner, but we go back to high school days. Arlington, Melrose. My last college hockey game was against Harvard. We played in the consolation
My
game.
first loss was to you. I remember that.
In the consolation game after losing to Cornell. But I'm just blessed. I've got friends here from high school, 2 of my good friends, and 2 guys that I haven't seen. One I saw at my 50th reunion, but a couple other guys, the fact that they're here, and the guys that I taught with at Watertown High School. So for me, this is a special night. I'm flattered to be here with so many special people, and want to thank this organization. Thank Joe, and I'm going to throw my 2 cents worth in the Boston Bruins. I mean, Donnie being the general manager, one of the coaches has played for me at UNH. Joe Sacco and Pandolfo. They're just a great group with a talented team, and they were great to watch. And congratulations, Donnie, for all you did. We all know about some of the picks that you made at the end to make it all happen. So congratulations to the Boston Bruins and everybody here tonight.
I said my first loss was in overtime to you. You were the captain in 1972, and I came out of the locker room and I started to scrape up the wrong crease. I didn't know which end was which in so many ways, and you skated through and you had that same face you had on in that video there that you gave the ref, you gave me, to get me out of there. And we lost Tonto's nephew, right?
Yeah, Guy Smith.
Guy Smith. He was the nephew of the actor who played Tonto in The Lone Ranger. I can still, I said to somebody, I can still see that puck going through my pad. And they said, well, you didn't see it that night. So.
You know, I was going to say to Brian, I know he got the award tonight for the hockey, the officials program. If you want me to help out with the officials, kind of give them a little lesson on experience and how to deal with referees, I'd be glad to do it, Brian.
He would have made that call on the Charlie.
He would have made that call, that's right.
Okay, so I've got one common kind of stock question I'm going to ask everybody. We get 3 different levels, at least, of your last stop, you know, youth hockey, professional hockey, college hockey. If you could change one rule, I've been on the NCAA Rules Committee, I'm currently on the USA Hockey Playing Rules Committee. If you could change one rule, what would you change? Anybody?
My pet peeve is the cross-check behind the back when you're at the net front, whether you're a defenseman, and the fact we can't do it on the boards, but any cross-check to the back should be called a penalty. Should not be allowed in the game of hockey.
I know you wanted when the goalie catches the puck just so he can throw it so you don't have to have face-offs.
Too many face-offs. 70 face-offs at games is too many. We're the only sport that has something like that. They should throw the puck and let them play.
Pond hockey, like pond hockey.
They do it in soccer, they do it in lacrosse, they do it in basketball, they throw the ball and they play.
You can put the linesman out of business. Would that be a good thing?
1, 2, 3. What about tap the sticks? 1, 2, 3. Forget it.
Well, they have to be behind lines and so forth like that, don't get me wrong, but they do it in every other sport. They're taking face-offs out of the
I'll go to Nick next. Mike?
I agree with you with the cross-checking in the back. It's so dangerous. They got to do something about that.
Johnny?
Boy, oh boy, I've been spending more time with meetings and officials and some of the things that happen in the course of the playoffs. You know, obviously we have video review now, so it's an area of our game that we need to continue to see if it evolves in the right way. Obviously, social media and such has become, you know, a big part of the reaction or the immediate reaction that happens in the course of a game. They get to broadcast it up on the screen before, you know, an official might even realize that a mistake has been made. I now have seen a long spectrum of the concussion aspect and the effects of hockey at all levels, and I still believe, I don't know whether or not the stop lines, the stop signs, I think the awareness piece and how things are coached, I honestly think that there'll be less hitting in the game as we go forward. As a result of it, we have to understand. I think the way women play at the Olympic level and the competition on pucks is probably what's going to start to happen towards all levels, and I think that will continue to allow kids to play the game. I think that's what we have to be aware of, that we cannot afford to lose kids at any level of hockey. And that's more the awareness piece. So for me, I don't necessarily think it's one rule, but I think it's a direction that we have to continue to go down.
And I know, having just come from the meetings in Colorado, I think Digger's still in the room and Casey's here. There's a lot of discussion about changing the culture of body contact and keeping the stick down and eventually allowing a place for the players who are leaving the game early because they don't like that part of the game, have an option. But it may go beyond just having an option for kids who want a non-checking hockey. It may be a really change of the culture to what it's not going to be non-contact. There's always going to be contact, but you can cut down the injuries, and I think it's inevitable, and other sports are going through it too. It's been a long day for some of the people in the audience. I know there's a lot more these guys have to offer. I hope I'm not shortchanging it by bringing it to a close here. I think they've all made comments about the importance of the relationships we have. And one of the things I love about hockey is I swear you could walk into a hockey rink anywhere in the world, and within 15 minutes, you're going to meet somebody who knows you, that you 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, in ice hockey. But I want to congratulate all of you. I want to congratulate the others that got up earlier, the posthumous award winners, and thank everybody for being here tonight. Last thing, for all the winners, there are photos to be taken up here, photo opportunities with your families, with the awards, with the people that came to honor you tonight. So one final congratulations, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.